Hey everyone, here I am again with another Godzilla review. Today we're talking about Godzilla vs. Megalon from 1973. I admit I haven't been looking forward to this one as much as some others. It seems to be one of the less beloved of the series. But I've tried to keep an open mind with these movies, especially the not-so-good ones, and I did have a little extra encouragement from one of you who told me that this one is not so bad, and so I've tried to go into it with a little more optimism than I might have otherwise, and I think it helped. Set in the year 1970X, according to the subtitles, some underground nuclear testing causes major geological unrest. This angers an ancient community that lives deep down in the ocean in a place called Seatopia. The Seatopians don't like the surface dwellers blowing things up and causing trouble, so they send Megalon up to attack. Meanwhile, above ground, the story focuses on an engineer-inventor, his little brother, I'm not sure if they ever did establish the relationship there, and his friend, a rookie race car driver. The inventor has just put the finishing touches on an extremely high-tech robot named Jet Jaguar when a couple Seatopians break in and commandeer the robot, forcing him to lead Megalon to Tokyo. But our protagonists find a way to circumvent their control, sending Jet Jaguar instead to fetch Godzilla. In retaliation, the Seatopians also send for Gigan to come from space to serve as Megalon's backup, setting things up for a showdown between Godzilla and Jet Jaguar on one side, and Megalon and Gigan, two giant mechanized insects who like to fight dirty, on the other. Oof, I feel like I just said a lot of confusing things. If you're lost, it's okay, and trust me, it's easier to follow all of these plot points when they unfold in a natural progression when you're watching the movie. It's a little bit easier. There were still a few points where I was like, what? My biggest what moment happened at exactly the 20-minute mark when Seatopia was introduced. I had no idea anything like this was going to pop up in this movie, although, you know, at some point I would think that I would learn not to be surprised by anything that happens in a Godzilla movie. Seatopia, as my mom observed, looks kind of like an old Star Trek episode, one of the ones where they're on a planet where everyone wears togas and stuff. Like a lot of the Godzilla movies from this period, especially these ones directed by Jun Fukuda, who definitely had a more fun vision of what he wanted these movies to be, it is a little all over the place. The vague futuristic setting lends itself to some interesting interiors and apparel and automobile designs, although the movie was made in 1973 and it's set in 1970X, so it isn't that far into the future. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be futuristic at all and I just misunderstood it. Plus there are a few big groovy car chases, complete with jazzy musical accompaniment, an unusually long earthquake, some obligatory monster destruction, and for some reason Easter Island is tossed in there. As for the monsters, Godzilla looks a little different. This particular suit has something a little funky going on with the eyes. There's a new actor in the suit as well, Shinji Takagi, in his first and only role as Godzilla. His chief opponent, Megalon, is kind of like a giant fly, I guess, though I admit I had a hard time figuring out all of his accessories and assets. He's got a glowing antenna laser blaster thing on top of his head, which produces the same yellow laser beam as King Ghidorah, thereby allowing them to use stock footage of Ghidorah's attack sequence. He also has these things on his face, antennae, or tentacles, or eyebrows. I don't know. At a certain point, I just have to accept that these monsters have all kinds of things stuck on them. We eventually find out that he can shoot an apparently unlimited supply of grenades out of his mouth. My mom called them spitballs. But in spite of all that, Megalon seems pretty clumsy, and at one point, when Jet Jaguar stops leading him to Tokyo, it's like his wires get crossed and he goes a little nuts. My favorite part, though, is when he does this thing. I have no idea why he does that. He can fly, so there's no need for him to jump his way to Tokyo. Just looks like he's playing with an invisible jump rope to me. Gigan is also there, looking a little different and not quite as impressive as before, and still, as one of you pointed out last time, a bit of a coward, but I still found him a greater threat than Megalon, even with all his random weaponry. What really surprises me is that the master weapon of a place called Seatopia isn't some kind of sea monster. I would have expected that a huge kraken-like creature would be their chief offense, but nope, it's this thing. As for Jet Jaguar, well, I think he's supposed to be our big hero, complete with his own theme song in the end credits, and he does look friendly sometimes. He ought to. He was designed by a child, after all. Toho had a contest for children to create a hero who would star in their next movie. Jet Jaguar was the winning entry, and he was originally supposed to take on Megalon by himself. But fears that he wouldn't have sufficient star power to sell tickets caused the idea to be scrapped until Godzilla and Gigan were brought on board. Godzilla, of course, taking a lot of the spotlight. Anyway, Jet Jaguar is okay, friendly enough, a little corny. What I don't like is when we get a close-up of his face and that permanent bared teeth grin. Then he looks a little creepy. But I got a kick out of watching him interact with Godzilla. I especially like it when they shake hands. There's some great teamwork here, and Godzilla, in his 13th movie, trots out yet another new fight move. Some extremely amusing things go down in this fight, and in the whole movie, really, and I think if you go into it with the right mindset, you can enjoy it for what it is. It might be one of the weakest movies in the entire franchise, but even so, it's not without its fun points. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'd like to express my thanks to all you longtime Godzilla fans out there who have come along and encouraged me with the promise of better things to come, and helped me see the good parts of these movies. You have helped make this patch of very cheesy Showa-era films much more enjoyable than I anticipated, and now I'm looking forward to getting into new territory. We've been in new territory for me for a while, but the Mechagodzilla films are coming up, and I've never seen them before, and I'm really excited about it. And then that's the end of the Showa era, and then there's Godzilla 1985, which I'm really looking forward to, and then we start the Heisei era, and I've never seen a single Heisei movie, and I don't even know if I'm gonna like it, if I'm gonna like what they do with Godzilla, but we'll figure it out as we get there. And I hope you'll continue to come along on the journey with me. It should be fun. Until next time, thanks for watching.